Mercedes can see me and I can see people are joining. Oh my God, we are back in action. Okay, hi everybody. My name is Julia Glum and I am a reporter with Money. We are going to be talking with David Bach, who says he can see me. Awesome, in just a couple of minutes. David, if you want to try and request me, I will add you. Sorry about those technical difficulties, y'all. My Wi-Fi is very bad and also very expensive, which is the worst combination of factors. But speaking of factors, we're going to be talking with the author of The Latte Factor, David Bach, in just a couple of moments about the first-time homebuyers challenge that he partook.
There we go.
Yes, thank you for bearing with me, everybody. We've got David Bach here. David, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Always nice when this stuff works.
Awesome. Wow.
Woo!
That was very awkward for a second. And also I turned off my AC in here so it wouldn't blow during the Instagram Live, and I am sweating up a storm. So I'm glad to have you, David. Everybody who has just logged on, hello. My name is Julia. I'm a reporter with Money, and we are talking with David Bach. He is a 10 times New York Times best-selling author. He's the mastermind behind The Automatic Millionaire, Start Late, Finish Rich, The Latte Factor, and so much more. And the reason we're talking with him today is that David graciously allowed us to put him on our cover for July. We have a featured guide called David Bach's Guide to Financial Recovery. Hello, David.
Hello, it's so good to be with you. And by the way, I'm so humbled and grateful to you all for putting me on the cover of Money, and so excited about the recovery guide that we just created because I think it's going to help a lot of people, and really excited about the first-time homebuyer program that we just launched today with the team at Money. So excited to talk about all these things with everybody today. It's good to be here. By the way, I love your glasses.
Thank you. When I first got glasses back in high school, I really hated the idea of being like a nerd. Funny now that I'm a personal finance writer, but I thought getting red glasses would kind of be my brand. And so now they are my brand, even as an adult.
Let's give her some hugs and love right now. Yes. See that. They all love it.
Well, we'll get right into it, David. First, I want to let everybody know I do have to read this disclaimer from legal. The following Money presentation is only for informational purposes, and you should not consider it or take it as personal financial advice. So interpret it as you will, but we're going to talk just with some generic tips with David Bach. David, let's start out by talking about the big thing on everybody's minds, which is the pandemic. I know we started our cover story with you actually before everything hit, and now we're releasing it really in the thick of it. I would love for you to know, I would love to hear from you. How has your financial advice or perspective kind of evolved over the last couple of months?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because, right now we're talking and I'm in Florence, Italy. And I live if I was to turn this camera around, I live 200 yards away from the Ponte Vecchio. And so I want to just give that context because what happened was Italy was the first country to have a national quarantine. So on March 11th, we were quarantined as a country. And Italy was all over the news, and all my friends in America were reaching out to me like, oh my God, are you okay? Are you sure you don't want to come home? And I started telling all my friends, especially since I'm from New York City, like, guys, this is coming your way. In a matter of weeks, this is coming to the States, and you need to get ready. And truthfully, I was telling my friends in New York, like, you need to get out of New York City. Like, it's going to be a zoo. And people just didn't believe me. And so I started doing a podcast. I started doing podcasts because the market instantly, market had a massive correction. It went down 33% in 9 days. Actually, I'm 53 years old. I've been in the investment business for 26 years. I grew up in this business. I mean, I've been going to my dad's investment classes since 9.
Right.
My family's been in the investment business for 50 years. And this was the biggest correction I'd ever seen. So I started doing a podcast. The podcast is called The David Bach Show. And I started telling people, like, look, here's what's happening in Italy, and here's what you need to do to prepare. And I've been doing that podcast now ever since. And, my recommendations in March and April when we first started talking was really preparing people. You need to start building runway. You're going to need emergency cash because you're going to have millions of people unemployed. I didn't expect 40 million people to be unemployed, but I was preparing people back then. But with that being said, what I was telling everybody to do was stay the course on the investing, because whenever you see a major correction like that, you almost always see pretty quickly a recovery. And so when the Fed started throwing money at the market, I was like, look, stay the course, keep using your 401k plan, don't panic. How my advice has changed right now is like, look, if you are a couple of years away from retirement, the market's almost back to full recovery. Like, this has been the fastest rebound we've ever seen. And if you're close to retiring right now is the time to deleverage and to reduce your risk. But you're going to need more runway, and a lot of it's about cutting your expenses. A lot of people still not cut their expenses. Like, I've been talking about the idea you need to cut your expenses like your life depended on it. And the reason is this: people were predicting a V-shaped recovery where we would just, in the 90 to 120 days, this would all wash away. Right. And it's not washing away, primarily because, quite honestly, the U.S. is having real difficulties, right? Like, here in Italy, we have like no cases now. We have 200 cases, I think, yesterday. So in Italy, because we had a 2-month strict quarantine, and then like a 6-week phased process to come out of the quarantine, and because we're all wearing masks, knock on wood right now, in Italy and a lot of Europe, we're all doing better. But the but part is the U.S. economy is a huge global leading indicator for the world. Like, there's no tourists right now in Italy. And so, I live in Florence. It's a tourist city. And when you look at the impact of having a global economy shut down with just tourism alone, you realize it's going to take another year, all the way through next year, before we start to see really clarity around how much what this recovery looks like. And what I would tell somebody is the third quarter and the fourth quarter of this year, and I'm like an optimist, I'm also a realist, we're going to have an ugly third and fourth quarter, because you have a lot of people who have not actually been laid off, they've been furloughed. And so what's going to happen when all the programs that were put in place end, which is coming up right now at the end of July, unless there's another stimulus plan, you're going to start to see unbelievable levels of permanent layoffs and bankruptcies. And those are going to roll into the third quarter and the fourth quarter and the first quarter. So I'm just telling all my friends, like, do not go out and be spending money right now you shouldn't be spending. Cut your expenses to the bone, control the controllables, work, don't worry. There's a lot of ways to find meaning in the mess right now, but you just got to realize, like, this is not just, you're seeing it in the U.S. It's not washing away. So that was a long answer to your question.
No, I mean, it's absolutely true. I think times are really tough all around right now, and I think it is going to be a long time before it gets better. That said, it does seem like maybe there's a silver lining if you're in the market for a home. In our cover story, you spoke with reporter Elizabeth O'Brien about how you said it's a phenomenal time to buy a home. So maybe, can you tell me why is that? Why is now a good time to buy?
Well, it is, and here's why. So let me give you the benefits of what's happening right now, right? Because first of all, what happens when you have a recession? And remember, the recession started in February. It's like when I was podcasting in March, I'm like, it's officially not a recession yet, but I'm telling you it's a recession. Yeah. So we're in a recession, but it started in February. Most recessions like this, on average, they last 17 months. So we're already solidly into the recession. So what happens is things get put on sale. So businesses get put on sale, meaning that stocks get put on sale. Like, I've been teaching my kids how to buy stocks at a discount. Real estate gets put on sale. And in this case right now, because the Fed has lowered the rates to basically nothing, we now have the lowest mortgage rates we've ever seen in 50 years. And I don't really think people fully appreciate this yet, even though there's like a record amount of refis right now. And actually there's a huge movement in first-time home buyers. I just want to put some context around this. If you were watching me and you own a home right now and you haven't refinanced in the last 6 months, there are 13 million people right now in the US who can refinance their home and save an average of $270 a month. I've been talking about in my podcast how the average American, is just an average home, by refinancing right now, can save $100,000 potentially in interest payments. And if you took that money and you applied it to the principal, you could pay your home off 5 to 10 years sooner. Or you could switch your 30-year mortgage to a 15-year mortgage. we're not going to see, I don't think we'll ever see rates like this again. Like this is like, you got 30-year rates below 30%. I'm sorry, 30-year rates below 3%, like 2.85, even lower on a 15-year. So you got to run. Like all you should do when this is over is go refinance your home if you haven't done that. All you should do when this is over, if you have a credit card, is you should go see if you can get a better credit card interest rate. Because most credit cards, if you're at 20%, you might be able to get 0, 3, 4, 5% on a new card. If you have student loans, you should be refinancing. Like this is this little tiny window, and this window won't last. This window won't be around for, I don't think, a year from now. So you got to run at these, and you got to get in the queue, because there is a line of people at the banks right now to do these refinances. But man, I'm getting people posting, like if you go to iTunes and you see the reviews on the David Bach show, I've had people who listened to that show a month ago who have refinanced, who were like 4% and now they're below 3. And they've literally said on the reviews like, oh my God, exactly like you said, I went and refinanced and I'm gonna save 6 figures and I'm gonna pay my home off 15 years sooner and we're gonna be able to retire sooner. God bless. That's the whole thing. And you know, I'll just like give again kudos to money, because I've been a fan of money for pretty much my entire adult life. I always read this magazine. I always dreamed of being on the cover. You guys do such good work. The new website is incredible, and it's just a privilege and an honor to be working with you guys, because you touch so many people's lives, and it's free. Right? Like what we're doing here is free. Our first time home buyer challenge we created is free. You can go through this program. It's 5 days long. And what I do over the 5 days is I walk you through how to go from renting to buying a home. So on 5 days, I walk you through how to build a down payment account, where you should put that money, how to get a high yielding savings account, how to pull your credit report and your credit score, make sure there's not any mistakes on it, and raise your credit score, because it's a huge difference. If you sometimes just raise your credit score 20, 30, 40, 50 points, you get a much lower interest rate. Then we go through how to get a mortgage on day 3. And then we go through, if you have a mortgage, how to refinance. And then we even talk about how to work with a real estate agent on day 5. So it's a real turnkey coaching program, where normally like coaching, when we would create classes like this, they might cost $497 or $997. Like these are the kind of programs that usually you charge for. What we've done with money with this partnership is make it available so you can just go through it at no cost. So super excited about that for everybody.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Everybody just tuning in. I'm Julia Glum. I am a reporter with Money. I'm talking with David Bach, who is a New York Times bestselling author and financial guru, and also the mastermind / host of our First Time Homebuyer Challenge, which you can check out at money.com. David, so you just kind of took me through what I can expect if I take the First Time Homebuyers Challenge. But I do have some people who are writing in.
By the way, they're writing in right now, Julie, and they're asking, where is the program? So you guys, if you go to money.com or even just on Instagram and you read the article, the recovery guide, inside that article, there's a link to the First Time Homebuyer Challenge. Also, if you go to askdavidbach.com, it'll take you right to the landing page. And you should be able to find it also on money.com, probably somewhere there's banners. I saw them today.
Yeah, we're promoting it like crazy. We're really proud of it. David, one of the questions that I'm getting from readers is about how to decide how much to spend on your home. Do we go all in for the house we want to live in, or should we calculate a safety net of some sort? Do you have any advice on how to kind of navigate that?
I do. And by the way, I just saw my friend, somebody's fault, Kenny Johnson. Hello, Kenny. Good to see you. Kenny retired, I think, last summer. Okay, so there's a process, right? When you basically give your financial documents to the bank is going to come back and tell you how much money that you would pre-qualify for a loan.
Okay.
So let's just say they said, David, you know what, you pre-qualified for a loan and we'll approve you for a $200,000 loan. What I would tell you, like you were my friend, I'd say, well, don't borrow $200,000. Always borrow less than the bank will lend you.
Right.
You should actually be more conservative than the bank. So if the bank will lend you $200,000, I would borrow like 180 or 170. Now, I've always been an advocate of having 10 to 20% down on a home as a down payment. But there are a lot of programs right now for first-time home buyers where you can get in a home with 3% down. And we had somebody go through this program, and during COVID, in 7 days, she went from, actually, she read the Automatic Millionaire book. Her name's Hannah. We're going to interview her for a podcast. She's in the article. We just don't have her name. In 7 days, she read the Automatic Millionaire and went from learning about buying a home to actually being in escrow in 7 days. And she's an example of somebody, I know, it's amazing. She bought a condo, I think it's a condo in Sacramento, and she put very little money down. And in her email to me, her example is, David, I didn't even know this was possible. And she's like, when it's all said and done, my mortgage payment is less than my rent. Wow. So, and that's, one of the things you'll hear people say that it's cheaper to rent than own. It's really not long-term. It's really not long-term, because what happens is that you turn around in 10 years if you've rented and you have nothing to show for it. You buy a home at the right price in the right market, and in 10 years you could turn around and have made a fortune. I mean, sometimes it's like I have a friend who recently bought it wasn't actually a big home, but out in New York things are expensive. They bought a home for $900,000. They were going to rent, and they ended up living in that home for 3 years, and they just sold it for $1.6 million.
Wow.
Well, I mean, you know how hard it is to save $700,000, and like in their case, they're married. So they get to keep $500,000 of that tax-free. So they basically had after commission and expenses, had no taxes. And that's the thing about real estate. Like, you get tax deductions, you get tax-free gains. I don't think people fully understand how valuable the tax-free gains are. Like, I've lived in 3 homes and taken full advantage of all those tax-free gains. So home ownership is what builds wealth in America. It's the ultimate escalator to building wealth. If you don't own and you're renting, you're making your landlord rich. So, when you see other gurus saying, well, look, it's not true, you're better off renting. Usually they're trying to get you to invest in one of their apartment buildings, right? Like, they're trying to get you to invest in something else or go through a $30,000 coaching program. I'm not a real estate agent. I'm just telling you the facts. Homeowners are worth 46 times more than renters in America. When you look at wealth disparity in America, it comes down to, did the family have real estate? When you look at people in America who have not been able to build wealth generation after generation, it is because the family never had a home. Because home ownership creates generational wealth. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because what happens is when grandma passes away and she owned a home, there's money that gets turned over to the parents or the grandkids. And that money gets turned around to go buy the next home. So, a big part of what we're doing is, from an equal opportunity standpoint, is like, we really need to get as many people in America who want to buy a home the opportunity to buy a home without discrimination too. That's a really big thing.
Yeah, and I know one of the big factors that we talk about in the First Time Home Buyers Challenge, and also is really important to other potential lenders, is your credit score. But I also know that there are a couple of ways that maybe you can improve your credit score or whip it into shape right before you start the home buying process. Can you give me a couple of tips on that?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me tell you how to do the opposite of whip it into shape.
Okay.
What you don't want to do before you go to get a mortgage is start having your credit scores pulled for a bunch of different things. Like, you don't want to be going out and getting credit cards, for example,
okay,
right before you go to get a mortgage. You don't want to be racking up, if you don't have to, money on your credit cards, because what happens is, the way you get your score up, a lot of this is simple. You pay your you pay your bills on time. You have your debt paid down as much as possible so that your utilization is low. The longer you have credit, the better. If you have mistakes on your credit report, you fix them. You should pull your credit report and your credit score before you go apply for a mortgage, because the first thing they're going to do is pull your credit score.
So you need to know what's on there.
You need to know what's on there, and the time to fix it's before you apply. Right. Sometimes you just have a lot of mistakes on these reports. I can't tell you how often people pull these reports and there'll be something from 3 or 4 or 5 years ago that's not accurate. Mm-hmm. And where maybe it says that there's bad debt, but it was paid off. And so then you want to go through the process of sending the letter to the credit bureaus and basically disclaiming that, arguing, no, it's not accurate. And they have to get back to you within 30 days or fix it. So we go through, there's 5 core levers to improve your credit score, and we cover all of that in the First Time Homebuyer Challenge. So I would just go into the First Time Homebuyer Challenge, register, and then watch the whole video, because literally, and we got these really cool little graphics. You can watch the different ways in which your scores move, and people underestimate what a big difference it is. Like moving your score, like let's just say you have a score that's, call it 660 or 670 or 680. And you do a couple tweaks and you get your score up to 710. That could be worth $25,000 to $50,000 in interest payments.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, 1/4% or 0.5% difference on a mortgage is massive.
Right.
And so people just don't know. This stuff's not taught in school. Should be, but it's not.
It should be. David, I don't want to keep you too much longer on this Instagram Live. Is there anything else that you wanted to add other than obviously everybody watching this, go take the First Time Homebuyers Challenge?
Well, yeah, I mean, go take the First Time Homebuyer Challenge, read the article, read the recovery guide. Also, I'm happy to answer some more questions. You know, I made my family all leave the house so I could do this and not be interrupted. So, like, I'm happy to chill out and hang, like, answer some questions. You know, I just think, let me talk about some things that aren't money related right now. Like,
life.
If you have your health, if you have your health, you actually have your ultimate wealth. So it's super important, if you're going through a difficult time right now, don't lose sight of that. Your health is the ultimate wealth. So much of a lot of what I teach, I call it life, money, and business, crush them all. This is a time to be super grateful and appreciative actually for what you have. And there's a lot of things you can do to not only take care of your health physically, but spiritually and mentally. So I have a lot of morning practices. Like I took you guys on a walk today on my Instagram Live story feed. But, you know, in the morning I wake up, I meditate for 20 minutes. I have a gratitude journal process where I write out the 3 things I'm grateful for. I write down the 3 people I love and the 3 things I'm going to do for the day. And by the way, all that takes 3 minutes. I call it my 3-minute morning process. You can copy that. And I've been doing this for forever. And the thing is, what it does is it ingrains in you gratitude. And so people are like, why are you so positive? Well, because I do these things to feel good, right? And the thing is, you'll make better financial decisions when you feel better. You know, if you're depressed, you can get yourself stuck and unable to make new financial decisions. And when you get yourself in positive movement, like, look, people who are here in most cases are here because they already are making positive actions. Like somebody who's reading money, who's tuning into Instagram to learn how to do this stuff is already positively focused. The news is what's so scary. So I think you need to be really careful over what you're feeding your mind and feeding your soul right now. I've really reduced the amount of news that I read and watch. And in fact, we're on Instagram now for over half an hour. But like I have a little timer on Instagram, and it tells me when I've been on Instagram for more than 30 minutes, because I don't want to just be going through things mindlessly. And I want to be very careful right now, especially about how I protect my energy.
Yeah.
And if you're around people who have negative energy right now, the more you could stay away from those people, the better. Surround yourself with people with positive energy. It's really important.
I will
especially
say,
now.
You're right, absolutely, about reducing the amount of news that you consume. As a reporter whose job relies on the news, don't cut it out completely. Please make a couple of subscriptions. But no, it's really important to protect your mental health right now. And that's something that actually comes up in every interview I'm doing these days with like economists and certified financial planners. People all across the spectrum are making a point of telling me, like, not only take care of yourself, but also if you need help, now is the time to seek out that help. And there's no shame in, going to a food bank or asking a community organization for some financial assistance, or even talking with your family and friends and asking for a loan. If you're struggling with debt, there are a lot of free debt counselors out there who are accredited and nonprofit who can actually really help you. And I would hope that people would look to you, David Bach, as a resource that can help as well. And money.com, of course, we're trying to be very responsible with the advice that we put out these days, just because there is so much happening. It's overwhelming, it's scary, and you got to muddle through it somehow.
Well, and also let me just say something, Julie, because you just said, like, you are a reporter, right? If you go to money.com right now and you look at the front page of money.com, money.com is not out there trying to scare people.
No.
At all.
Correct.
And it is a very positive place to go for financial information, but not just financial information, right? Like, you're covering travel and all kinds of fun stuff. It's not just money. Now, I'm not going to pick on other websites, but I promise you, there are a lot of other websites you can go to right now that are designed to scare you from the moment you land on that website. So, yeah, I think go to places that are really there to be positive, because you get sucked into the negative news cycle, and it can become addictive. And I have, I did this Zoom thing like this, and before the Zoom started, the person who was interviewing me, I'm like, "Hey man, how you doing?" He's like, "I'm doing terrible." The guy goes, "I want to kill somebody right now." I'm like, "You're kidding, right?" Like, he's like, he goes, "Well, no, I don't really want to kill somebody," but he's like, "I'm so angry and I'm so upset about everything." And I go, "Well, what are you doing every day to be so angry and upset?" He's like, "Well, I'm watching 6 hours of news and I'm drinking a lot of coffee." And I'm like, "Well, how's that working for you?" He's like, "It's not working well." I'm like, "Well, then stop doing it."
Yeah. No, I think there is definitely a fine line between doom scrolling, which is what I tend to do, where I just keep going on Twitter and reading all of the tweets, and preparedness, and I do think that there are a lot of resources out there that can help you kind of figure out the path you need to be on during this recession and this pandemic, without being scary. You can set up your emergency fund. You can get a high yield savings account that will give you some returns. You can invest in your 401k. You can buy a home. Like, I think there's a lot. People may feel powerless right now, but there are some concrete steps that they can take to put themselves in a better financial position. You mentioned cutting expenses. Do you have any other tips that you might want to bring up about how somebody can kind of figure out their financial life right now?
So everything right now is renegotiable. And companies hate when I do this.
Oh.
But here's the thing. Anything that you're paying for right now, if you call up and try to cancel it, those companies have been trained, number one, to do everything humanly possible to not lose you.
Right.
So they're going to meet, like, let's just take a generic example. Like, you're paying $100 for something a month. First of all, whatever you're paying for a month, you should immediately have to have this. Like, if you're paying for a gym membership, or you're paying for anything that you're not using right now. Rocky, stop it, buddy. That's my dog. If you're paying for anything you're not using right now, you should not be using it. You should let it go. It's use it or lose it. The other thing I would tell you right now is, like, anything that you do want to keep, call up and cancel it. Say, "Look, I'm sorry, I got to cancel." They're going to say, "Oh, I can't afford to pay for it right now. I'm not working," whatever the case may be. It's too much. Most cases, like 8 out of 10 cases right now, they'll give you a better deal. I'll give you a classic example of something I just canceled today, because I'm still watching my expenses. I don't want to pay for things I don't need right now. So I have all these travel credit cards that I went and got for the travel points. Like, probably a lot of people, right? There were all these credit card offers last year and the year before that were giving 50,000 to 100,000 points. And I love those things. But now it's a year later. I'm not traveling, and I don't want to get hit with the $250 to $450 annual fee, right? So these cards are coming up, and I'm like, cards are sitting in a box, not using it. Call today, American Express, Delta. American Express, love you guys, cancel my card. It's $250, I'm not paying it. Can you waive it? No, we can't waive it. Okay. By the time they got done with me, they were like, "Oh, we can give you a $225 credit if you'll just stay with us for 3 more months." And, all these things that they would do to keep I still canceled the card. Mm-hmm. I'm going to cancel 4 of those cards in the next 2 weeks. That's a classic example. Those are 4 cards I'm not using. That's $1,000 a year in annual credit card fees. So these are the kind of things that we don't think about when the economy is booming and we're traveling and we're using stuff, but we're not traveling now. She said to me on this, I hate when I do this. She said to me, we'll give you 30,000 points if you just keep the card. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere.
Right. No.
When am I getting on a Delta plane? I'm not, the likelihood that I'm on a plane this year is super, super low. Now, somebody said, oh, you got to be careful because if you cancel your cards, it can reduce your credit score. She's right, by the way. It is true. It can reduce your credit score a little bit at first, but I'm not going out and borrowing any money right now.
Right.
But your point's right. If you're going to go get a mortgage right now, you might not want to cancel those cards. You might want to do what I just said, which is call up and be like, hey guys, I want this waived, and then see what kind of a deal they give you. Everything's like that right now. You know, if you're renting something, chances are you can get a better deal on rent. There's not too many things right now that you can't renegotiate.
It's interesting that you bring up calling your lenders, because that's a piece of advice that we repeat a lot on Money right now is, you know, maybe if you're not in the cutting expenses part of the crisis, but you're more in the I can't afford to pay my electric bill part, if you just call up the company and you're honest with them, and if you call them before you miss the payment, not after, that timing is key, and you say, hey, I've been a customer for 10 years and I've never missed a payment, but this month I just can't do it. I've been furloughed. I've been laid off. My mother is sick. They likely have some sort of payment plan that they can offer you if you just take that first step and get on the phone with them.
Here's the one, Julie, you're absolutely right. And here's the one thing that's kind of key about this time versus 2008, 2009. The banks and the lenders and the credit card companies and all these major organizations are actually, they actually have the game plan. They know how to deal with this now. They didn't know how to deal with it 10 years ago.
Right.
Now they know, like, okay, we have to have these programs in place. We have to have people on the phone, like, and we want to keep the customer. So, but this is the time to take advantage of getting better deals. And I'm just telling you right now, even if you're in great financial shape, like I'm not trying to scare anybody, but if you're in great financial shape right now and you're working, or you're both working, I'd still do whatever I could to lower my expenses, because just in case things change in 90 days, because they could. Now, it's funny because nobody's asked questions about the election. Typically, you start to get a lot of questions about the election, and are taxes going to go up? Are taxes going to go down? I don't know what's going to happen with the election.
You'd be a high-billionaire.
But what I will tell you is, at some point, first of all, taxes are actually going higher. Like, I just got off the phone with my accountant for 2019 because my taxes are on extension because I have my own companies, and I just can't get over how bad my taxes were last year. Like, all the deductions that used to exist, just one by one, got stripped away in this last tax package. So taxes have actually gone up, and they're going to go higher. The government can't print all of this money indefinitely and not turn around and raise taxes. So, very important, back to what can you do? Pay yourself first as much as you possibly can. Like, if you're doing well right now, if you can increase what you're putting in your 401k plan, you should increase it. You should be saving at least 10% of your gross income automatically. If you're self-employed, this is the time to have a SEP IRA. If you're doing really well and you're in your 50s, you should be looking at a defined benefit plan. Almost nobody talks about defined benefit plans because most people don't actually have the financial sophistication of how they work. But you can put up to over $100,000 tax deductible into a defined benefit plan when you're self-employed. And like I'm putting $124,000 tax deductible in my plan for 2019. That's money right off the top going into a retirement account, tax deductible. And that's why when you're self-employed, you have your own businesses, you can save a whole lot more money. The government creates these programs to help self-employed people become wealthier and real estate owners become wealthier, and also investors. And I'll just, if you're taking notes, a couple things to remember. There's two primary asset classes that build wealth in America. It's stocks and real estate. You have to own those two asset classes. They're the escalators to building wealth long term. And even if things go down long term, I should say, if things go down short term, long term, they always go back up.
Right.
So even if we have another correction, long term, they always go back up. The U.S. economy always recovers, always has, and I would tell you it always will. I'll always bet on America to win. American companies, long term, they're going to win. Somebody said, oh my God, people aren't drinking Coke in the last quarter. Guess what? As soon as the restaurants are open up again, they're going to drink Coke. People are like, oh my gosh, they're not going to fast food restaurants. As soon as they're open, you can go to fast food restaurants. They're going to go to fast food restaurants. Now, some industries won't recover fully. They just won't. Like travel is going to be decimated for a long period of time. Cruise ships, not everybody's running to get back on a cruise boat. They're just not, right? So there's certain things that actually won't easily recover right away. I talked about in the article, it's not like a light switch recovery. So you got to pick and choose. But the thing is, like, I've been trying to teach my kids how to think during this time as an investor. The article didn't cover all the things my kids invested in. My teenager who just went by, and we sat at this table doing the investment classes, he bought Zoom. He bought Zoom at $174 because we're all on Zoom. It's at $250. James bought Apple. He bought Shake Shack. He bought Procter and Gamble. He bought Kimberly-Clark. He was looking at his account today. And that was really funny because he's 10. He's like, so Dad, should I sell everything and take, because he's up so much. I'm like, no, you can't sell it. No, you can't sell it. Yeah. Well, how do I get the money? I want to go spend it. Like, you can't spend the money. It's in a custodial account. I control the money. You get the money when you're 18 or 21, but not now.
Well, David, relax from my coworkers telling me to wrap it up. Yes, they don't think this is as exciting as I. No, I'm just kidding. So I will wrap it up, and I will just make the final point that, David, thank you so much for hopping on Instagram Live with us. Yes,
my pleasure.
We have recorded this, and we will be uploading it after. So if anybody wants to go back and listen to David's top tips, they can. I would encourage everybody to go take the First Time Home Buyers Challenge at money.com or askdavidbach.com. David, I'll give you the last word. Sign us off.
Oh, thank you. Well, first of all, I know we're on your Instagram page. If you haven't joined me on my Instagram page, come on over to David L. Bach and join me on Instagram. On the bio link of my page on Instagram, it'll link right to the article. And then the second link is to the podcast, The David Bach Show. And I'm putting that out every couple of weeks. Just great. People love it. So come join us on the podcast. It's free. And let me know how you like the class. And if you've enjoyed, by the way, today's Instagram Live with Money, come over to my page and tell me what you thought. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, David. Everybody, go check out the First Time Home Buyers Challenge. Otherwise, stay safe and go give Rocky a treat for me.
You got it. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you all being here. Take care. Ciao.